But I want to bring Tyler back in here. Of course, Tyler, you wrote the book Woktopus, talking about what we are seeing throughout the mainstream media and their specific agenda. And it is clear Jeffrey Goldberg is no friend of the administration. Even there are many problems with his journalism, specifically the story about the suckers and losers, which never happened. President Trump never called members of the military that. He also promulgated the Russia hoax, which was, again, unfounded. There was no evidence to that. So your take on Jeffrey Goldberg in general and the way in which he's released this information, it seems very strategic that he was trying to do so before these hearings.
Well, I think the legacy media bias here and the way that, because Jeffrey Goldberg, and let's not kid ourselves here, The Atlantic doesn't come out and say we're a left-leaning paper. I mean, they don't do what MSNBC does and say, yes, we come from a progressive perspective. They act as though they're the intellectual heft in the media, and they don't admit they're far left. And so what we see here is another example of a legacy media paper that is pretending to be neutral and then that is going after a Republican president on this story. And, you know, this just goes to show, and I think one of the key points that Barney Frank, you know, Senator Frank, thank you for being here, said was that the legacy, we have this media bifurcation where a lot of outlets that are more conservative leaning and there are some outlets that are more liberal leaning. If you zoom out, though, you see the legacy media is very hard left and the conservative media is a scrappy alternate force. And I'm really glad to be at Daily Signal and some of these other places. But, you know, it's been hard for us to get access into some of the places that the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Atlantic have been in. And this story, again, shows how big the left-leaning media is and how, you know, new, scrappy, not fully established the conservative media is. And so I think that's a key point to always remember here is when we're talking about media bias, there's a reason why conservatives feel like we've been on the back foot for a very long time. It's because most of the legacy outlets tend to be on one side of the spectrum.
You know what, Tyler? And the thing is, you're not alone. And Barney Frank should understand this. Coming from Massachusetts, all he has to do is take a short walk down the road to Harvard University, who came out with a study, an independent study that clearly showed the bias toward President Trump and how, let's say, the right-wing media actually was more fair and balanced. And as Newsmax put it, real news for real people compared to the legacy media that was really distorted, drilled down on things that turn out not to be factual without corrections. So, yeah, even Harvard University's independent study and so many others backs up what Tyler is saying, Barney. So what say you?
I have to say this, because this notion that, oh, you're just scrappy, but the other people, they're biased. Well, that's like, they used to make a joke about how, you know, you're okay and she's pretty, but I'm beautiful. Again, nobody believes that. Both sides, I think, equally tend to judge it. But let me